Coping with COVID. Updates on the pandemic and information to help you thrive and survive COVID-19. It's brought to you by the South Carolina Department of Health and Environmental Control. Visit scdheck.gov for an updated list of testing sites and important information on how to protect yourself, your family, and friends from the coronavirus. SCDHEC. Healthy people, healthy communities. In it together and the South Carolina Diabetes Advisory Council, presenting Wellness Wednesday every Wednesday on Coping with COVID. The City of Columbia Office of Business Opportunities, helping to meet the needs of small, minority, and women-owned businesses in the City of Columbia. Log on to columbiasc.net/OBO. Agape Counseling and Training Services. Call 803-779-2777 for licensed professionals of counselors and social workers helping families, engaged and married couples, and individuals of all ages gain an understanding of all aspects of their lives. If you're having a challenge coping with COVID, contact Agape Counseling and Training Services at agapects.com. And Palmetto Media Connections, connecting media and communities together. Coping with COVID, brought to you by SCDHEC. In it together, the Diabetes Advisory Council, the City of Columbia Office of Business Opportunities, Agape Counseling and Training Center, and Palmetto Media Connections.
Coping with COVID with Tre Tailor.
Hey there, happy Thursday. I'm Tre Tailor, and you are watching Coping with COVID. It's Thursday, and that means no justice, no peace. It's our monthly series with the Fifth Circuit Solicitors Office. Attorney Byron Gipson is here, and he joins us. And Byron, thank you again so much for agreeing to do this monthly segment where you are able to communicate directly with the public. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. We're going to talk to Byron about some highly publicized trials, and also some events coming up that could help you and your family. That's coming up next on Coping with COVID. But first, your COVID community update. First, I want to say prayers to the parents, students, and school administration after 3 students were shot during a drive-by shooting yesterday in Orangeburg at Orangeburg-Wilkinson High School. A suspect is in custody, you may have heard, and the injured do not have life-threatening injuries. School was canceled for today. South Carolina State University has joined the list of schools now requiring masks. The ruling applies to all students, faculty, staff, and visitors inside campus buildings. Now, exceptions do include personal offices, residential halls, and while eating. States that decide that to ban mask mandates could face legal action. The U.S. Department of Education says if the policies in states like Florida, South Carolina, and Texas lead to unsafe conditions preventing students from attending school, it could be a civil rights issue. And Toys R Us is coming back. The retailer that filed bankruptcy in 2017 has a new owner and is partnered with Macy's to offer toys, games, and gadgets in stores beginning next year. Today, an online option is available at Macy's.com/Toys R Us. SCDHEC has your most up-to-date list of times, dates, and location for COVID testing and vaccinations in and around South Carolina. Check the scroll at the bottom of the screen for more detailed information on specific locations for you to get your COVID vaccine. Now, if you are a veteran, make sure you log on to the VA website because the VA is handling all vaccines for veterans. Also, several retail outlets in South Carolina are also offering COVID vaccinations, including Kroger pharmacies. Check the screen for details. CVS is also offering COVID vaccinations, and also the CVS that are located in Target stores. Now, online registration for seniors is being set up at Get Set Up. If you or someone you know is a senior citizen or someone just having some technology challenges, they can call Get Set Up and get set up for their COVID vaccination. Don't miss your shot. The Comet is continuing to offer free rides to get your vaccination, and also COVID funeral reimbursements. The FEMA is still offering COVID funeral reimbursements. You can see that information on the screen. The South Carolina Bar Association and SC Legal Services has a toll-free number and website for rental and mortgage help. Also, Richland County Rental Assistance Program is open. Go to richlandcountysc.gov. Now, if you live in Lexington, they also have a bill assistance program for those folks that are having some challenges. And SC Housing has a bill and rental assistance program. Also, Dominion Energy has partnered with SC Housing for a bill assistance program. Several resources are available to help folks with their rent and their bills. So please take advantage of these resources. Finally, SC Hopes has launched an online portal from the South Carolina Department of Mental Health, and it's for anyone having a challenge coping with COVID. Finally, and we're going to talk about this a little bit later on in detail, No Judge, No Jail. That is an event that is happening courtesy of the Fifth Circuit Solicitors Office. You can see the several dates that are on the screen right now: August 31st, September 1st, September 7th, and September 8th. And that's going to happen in Columbia, South Carolina at Trinity Baptist Church. The information is on the screen, and we're going to talk about that a little bit later on with Attorney Byron Gipson with the Solicitor's Office. Coping with COVID is streaming live on the TailorMade Production page. Go to TailorMade Productions on Facebook, hit like and share and follow so that you can watch Coping with COVID Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday at 2 p.m. And of course, first Monday with comedian George Wallace. We are also streaming live on YouTube. Want to say hi to all of you folks that are joining us on YouTube. Thank you so much for joining us. Please hit the subscribe button. We also have a presence on Instagram and on Twitter, and we are streaming live on the Fifth Circuit Solicitors page. So go over to that page right now and hit the like button and share this information out so we can get the message to the masses as we talk today with Attorney Byron Gipson. Now, don't forget that if you do have a comment or a question, you can post it in the comment section and we will answer your question. Attorney Byron Gipson with the Fifth Circuit Solicitor's Office joins us for this monthly series, No Justice, KNO Justice, No Peace, KNOW Peace. Excited once again about your willingness to come on the air, Byron, and publicly address the citizens with questions, comments, and information in an effort to be transparent and informative. Listen, you guys just recently wrapped up a very highly publicized case. It was went national. Mm-hmm. And changed some laws and the way we did things. Okay, Nathaniel Rowland was convicted of killing USC student Samantha Josephson. Back in 2019 is when the actual crime was committed, July of 2019. Can you walk us a little bit through that case, Byron?
I can. It was it's simply said, it's as tragic as it gets. I mean, there's just the Josephson family sent their daughter down here to go to college. By all reports, she was a wonderful young woman, just a tremendously bright future ahead of her. She was a senior at USC, had actually been accepted into law school and was going to be attending law school at Drexel University up in, I believe that's over in Philly. Mm-hmm. But suffice it to say, she was here. She and a group of friends who had been together for years decided that they were going to head down to Five Points to a bar called the Bird Dog Lounge, which is a place, it was just a hangout spot. Mm-hmm. And, this was really a celebration for them because all of them were about to graduate. They'd been together for a while and they were kind of toasting one another and about to head off to, after graduation, just heading off into the, the sunset to go, start the next phase of their lives. But that particular evening, they were together. Sammy, or Samantha, but Sammy, as her friends would call her, was just ready to go. So she called an Uber, which was just the normal practice. I mean, we're in Five Points. She called an Uber, and the call that she made, the two just were not able to link up. She and the actual driver who she made the call to. Evidently, when the call was made, she was on one corner, and the corner where she made the call from initially is where it looks like that's where the actual driver went to. So she was waiting on another corner, about a block away, and the two never, were able to make contact. She saw a car that she believed to be the Uber that she called for, got in the back seat of this car, and that was the car that was being driven by Mr. Rowland, and was never seen alive after that.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about the particulars of the case. And it is tragic. I mean, listen, just on so many levels. I mean, we've all been young and hanging out, having a good time. And a couple of things come out of this. One, you just don't leave your friends. You know what I mean? And I know you can't comment on this, but it seems very simple to say, okay, I'm ready to go. Y'all stay. I'm going to go. You just can't leave your friends.
Yeah, and that's one thing we've talked about a good bit. Just talking with just friends. I mean,
Especially if you've been drinking, because you're impaired. You know, and again, I like a glass of wine every now and then too, but you're impaired, so you just can't be too careful.
You can, and there's the buddy system that people talk about all the time.
Right.
It's kind of corny to say it, but I mean, if you got to go in pairs, going to the bathroom in pairs. If you leave in pairs, so the other person always knows where you are. I mean, I will say this: one of the things, she was from a bigger city, and so. In her mind, I'm sure she's thinking, all right, I've done this before. I'm getting an Uber. I'm going to ride from here. It's 2 or 3 miles from campus, and I know where I'm going. My friends know where I am. They were tracking one another on the Find My Friend app, so they knew.
Oh, were they? Okay.
They were. So they knew where they had some protections in place, but you can just never conceive that somebody would be riding around who was capable of doing the things that Mr. Rowland did in this situation. So the point well taken. It's something that we talk about is just partnering up and always knowing where the other person is. And no matter how much of a good time you may be having, if the other person's ready to leave, you come as a group, you leave as a group.
Exactly. We're talking to Attorney Byron Gipson with the Fifth Circuit Solicitors Office. This is a No Justice, No Peace, our monthly series with the office, and we're talking about the very highly publicized Nathaniel Rowland, Samantha Josephson case that was just trialed just a couple of months ago, last month, as a matter of fact. And as you said, Byron, if we can say there's a good thing that came out of this. I mean, it was tragic. It certainly was, as you were saying, the awareness of staying with your friends, making sure everybody is safe. And we'll talk about this a little bit later, the actual Uber laws that changed because of it. But I want to get a little bit into the case. There was so much evidence, DNA, bloodstained items, cell phone pings, video of him using or trying to use her ATM card. Tell us a little bit about how you get that evidence. I mean, kind of Perry Mason us, and I just dated myself by saying Perry Mason. I guess I should say CSI.
I thought you were about to say Abraham Lincoln this year. He was a lawyer, Yeah, but what happens here is the minute that a crime scene is discovered, or if there is some kind of question about whether or not a crime has occurred, once law enforcement gets involved, and that's what happened here, you have an investigation that takes place on so many levels. I love TV, but one of the problems that happens with TV is you start seeing all these things that they're doing, these innovative things that just don't exist, or they're or they're not. They're just not possible in the world that we live in. I mean, it's good for TV, but it doesn't work in the real world because it doesn't happen that way. But what happens is law enforcement gets involved, and there are leads that they'll follow up. Some of it is based on just sometimes it's talking to a defendant, talking to witnesses around that person. The blessing that you have these days, and especially in this case, was with cell phones. Every cell phone has an ID. It's like a fingerprint, and if it's activated or not. Then at that point in time, you can start to ping a cell phone based on where the towers are. Because when you're driving, if you have a cell phone, your cell phone is always looking for the strongest signal, unbeknownst to you. Even if you aren't actually talking on it, it's on. And so you can be tracked just based on your whereabouts, just based on the towers that your phone pings off of. So in this case, her phone was on for a period of time. His phone was on for a period of time, and they were pinging together off of different cell phone areas.
Wow.
That's important. And they were together pinging simultaneously in different areas.
So that showed they were together.
That show, some people would say that shows that the phones were together, which is true. But yes, based on that and other evidence, that shows that they were together at the time.
Right. Now, there was video of him using her ATM card. Is that correct?
Correct. On 2 occasions. One occasion was in Sumter, South Carolina, which is not far from his hometown, which was New Zion, South Carolina, which is where her body was found. Her body was found about a little over a mile, as we say, as the crow flies, so kind of in a straight line from his family home. And so and his phone pinged. I keep using that term, but pinged, leaving 5 Points into the Rosewood community where we believe is where she was actually murdered. And up Rosewood, hanging right on Garner's Ferry, and just all the way up to Sumter, and then on into New Zion. So his phone, was found in different areas, through that area. But as you said, he attempted to use her debit card at a bank or Wells Fargo ATM in Sumter. Tried 2 times, was unsuccessful, and then came back into the Columbia area and tried again at a Wells Fargo location and tried 9 times. And so you have different video angles. So almost like we're looking at one another now. There's a straight angle that came from the ATM, but there's a second angle that came from another camera that was above, that was a color camera that captured a little bit more of the area where he was standing when he attempted to use that ATM. Yeah.
Of course, there were witnesses, one of which was his former girlfriend.
Correct.
And I think, and again, I know there's some things you can and cannot say. I'd heard, there was a big conversation about the fact, how credible a witness she was, I'll just say.
Sure.
Can you talk a little bit about that?
Absolutely. I think people, again, get caught up sometimes in this TV, mentality that everything is going to add, everything, A plus B absolutely equals C. And all of these things happen, and you have to be able to trace every piece of it. And that's not necessarily how the real world works. What happened here, what we have to recognize is the things that this young lady, and there were 2 women that testified. The one that we're speaking of specifically, the things that she said, if you look at the evidence, matched up. Right. And so I think people get caught up sometimes in how a person looks and like, oh, well, that's kind of suspicious. I wouldn't have done it that way. I would have done this. I get that. But you weren't in that person's shoes that day. You weren't. Exactly. You weren't the one who believed that you and your child were in danger. Right. And so all of the things that she said, if you look back at what we talked about, those things matched up. The fact that he had been at the home that evening. The fact that when she woke up that night, early in the morning, he had promised he was going to be there all night. He left while she was sleeping, went to 5 Points. And so she starts texting him at a certain time because she's supposed to be at work at a certain time. He's not there. It matches up that he wasn't there. It matches up that he came back. He took her to work that morning, but he was an hour late. So she got to work late. Didn't have her work hat, which is required. She asked where that was. He said, oh, it's in the country. It's, where was Samantha's body found? In the country. There's blood in the backseat. She asked, well, did you hit a dog or something? And he's like, well, mind your business. Right. She said she put he left and came back and had her work shirt that he was supposed to have washed for her earlier. The shirt was wet. He didn't finish washing it. He hadn't dried it. He threw a sheet over the back seat, so when he picked her up, she wouldn't be able to see whatever had gone on in the back seat. Right. Interestingly enough, if you look at the videos when he was at Wendy's, and you look at the video when he tried to sell her cell phone 5-6 hours later, her meaning Samantha's cell phone, you see a sheet with blood on it in the back seat. And so there are things. There's this weapon that they talked about, this multi-tool that this particular woman that we're talking about had seen him with trying to clean. A previous young lady who he had a relationship had seen it as well. So, it's these things that, again, that start to add up. It's like pieces of a puzzle. And as you start putting them together, you start to see the picture a little bit more clearly. And that picture clearly shows unequivocally that Nathaniel Rowland is a person who did this. Yeah, we're talking to Attorney Byron Gipson with the Fifth Circuit Solicitors Office. This is our monthly series, No Justice, No Peace, where Byron and his office have graciously agreed to come on the show and kind of just talk to us about a little bit of everything, kind of what's going on in the 2 counties. And right now we're talking about this very highly publicized case, Nathaniel Rowland and USC student Samantha Josephson. Please post and share this information out so we can get the message to the masses. Byron, we have a question from Alex Wright. He wants to know, before she got in his car, did anyone ask what was his purpose that night? I think he's saying, why did he go to 5 Points? I think that's what Alex is asking. Did that ever come out? Was he looking for? He never gave a statement per se, which was absolutely his right. I mean, if a person is arrested are under arrest, I mean, you hear it in Miranda rights all the time. You have the right to remain silent. And that matters. You don't have to say anything. There were points in times where he spoke to the police in a self-serving way, but if the question is, did he say why he was in 5 points? No. And according to what he told, or the young lady whose house he had been at immediately before going to 5 points, she didn't even know he'd gone to 5 points.
Wow.
She wasn't aware that he was going to 5 points. She was under the impression, based on what he told her, that he was spending the night there and he was going to be able to take her to work the next morning.
Right. Thank you, Alex. I think that's what you were asking, because he said before she got in this car. I don't know if he's asking, did she say, "Are you my Uber driver?" I'm not sure what the question is, but
yeah, if that's the question, I don't believe that ever happened. Just by looking at what we saw, she got into that car, and the car that she was looking for was a dark Dodge Challenger. Similar, it's a dark vehicle. And if you look at that area, we watched more hours of video than you can imagine. Bars let out around 2 o'clock. And so people were coming in, jumping in their cars, and jumping in their Uber rides and just all through that area. So yeah. That's just what people do. Some you would actually see who would stop. They look through the driver's side or look through the passenger side at the driver and they'd look at their phone and kind of compare that that's the person who they were supposed to pick up. You saw that happen multiple times, but just the way that Mr. Rowland had circled the block for probably 10 minutes or so before, he just continued to circle, and you could tell he laid eyes on her just by the way that he circled and kind of came back. He made U-turns. He made 3-point turns, and he came into a parking lot, made another 3-point turn. And just as you look at the camera angles, you can see that he has a direct line of sight to her when she attempts to get in a car before her, that one that was not her Uber. And that car pulled off. All of that's there. And so he could see those things. And when he saw her try to get in that car and that wasn't it, she stands back on the curb. And then he actually pulls around and jumps the curb to pull in the parking space right next to where she is. All of that stuff is there.
Wow.
That's there's all of that was there for everybody to see. And so you talked earlier about law enforcement. We talked about phones, cameras. Yeah. That's extremely important. The blessing in Colombia is there are cameras in a lot of places in a lot of public areas. So we were able to track that vehicle after 25 plus hours and more footage, just tracking that vehicle, where it was, where it went, and and so that you could see these things happening. The fact he went down Saluda Avenue, which is right in the heart of 5 points, went down that street the wrong way, trying to get back around to where she was. The night that he was stopped, meaning that about 24 hours later, he turned, once he was blue lighted, he turns the wrong way down Saluda Avenue. It's it's things like that that just start to add up and just show again that, there's no doubt in my mind, this was the person. There's so much more. I mean, we could talk for hours about just the mountain of evidence and what it was and what each piece meant and how each piece showed these particular, facets that just show that he is indeed the person who committed this crime. We would not have prosecuted this case against him if we didn't believe that he was the person who committed this crime. He's the one who did it.
Right. Well, to that point, Byron, I want to ask a little bit about, character witnesses, but specifically the mom. At the end of the case, many people saw that his mom said, "I know my son didn't do this." Does a character witness, in this case or in any case, really, does it matter?
It can matter, but what you got to realize is that happened at the end of trial after he'd already been convicted. So that's kind of what we call the mitigation phase, is what we call that, when a person comes in and tries to explain why they think the person who's been convicted should get a lesser sentence, or there should be some type of mercy granted by the court. And so do character witnesses matter? They can matter, but the key is, if you're going to bring a character witness that says that you're a great person, then now the prosecution can consequently bring in folks, if they have information, to the opposite or to the contrary, that can speak about a person's character. Mm-hmm. And so there's some technical rules. You hear a lot of times people, objection, hearsay. And everybody thinks we all know what hearsay means. Every lawyer thinks we know what it means. But I'll tell you, there are books and treatises on hearsay that are, 10, 15 inches thick. And it is complicated. But one of the things it has to deal with is when you're bringing in character evidence, you hear people maybe cite a rule 404B that talks about, your tendency to do certain acts and what evidence you can bring in to show that. And it's complicated. So any lawyer who's going to get into character evidence needs to be careful, because it can be a minefield if you bring that in. Because if you open the door for character evidence, then
it could go either way.
For everything. That's right. Anything else that
your good character or your bad character. Yeah.
And that's crucial. That's crucial.
Yeah.
That's crucial.
Yeah. We've got another question, Byron. Mitchell Peace Joy Jen says, will there be further investigation regarding the other DNA that was found? I don't know what other DNA you're talking about. If you can tell us, Mitchell, please do. She wants to know where there possibly other people involved with this crime. Were there possibly people involved?
We don't have any other evidence that says anyone else was involved in the crime. When you talk about with other DNA, DNA is complicated as well. For instance, I'm sitting in this chair right now. If you were to come and sit in this chair, and if 3 other people were to sit in this chair, or even rub the chair, there's a chance you may leave some DNA behind. There's no telling how long it would have been or how long it could be there, but there's a chance you may leave DNA behind. One of the key things is you talked about the number. I think the number was septillion with certain pieces of evidence. That's 27 zeros. And so the way the DNA evidence has to be presented is that, if you're in a nightclub and you bump up against somebody, there's a chance they may leave some DNA. But is that the strongest sample that you find? No, it's not. Right, in this case, you had situations where you had evidence where there are 27 zeros that says that's the person who did it. And so the way that DNA is structured now, you have to talk about any possible contributor. That's why it took about 2.5 hours for that witness to testify, because with all of the evidence, there are possible contributors. But when you look at the strong samples that were there, they pointed to Mr. Rowland. Yeah. Again, DNA is one part of the evidence in this case. You also have, the clothes that he was wearing that were drenched in her blood. You have those clothes, the weapon, you have cleaning supplies, all of those things are in a trash can that he dumped them in behind Maria's house. That he could get to that trash can without her even knowing that he'd done those things, that he'd done that. You have the weapon. I mean, you have the use of the debit card. You have the attempt to sell the cell phone. You have the phone pinging in all of these areas with hers. You have her body being found essentially a mile away from where he was raised, deep in the country. You have a note where, writing down all of the things that need to happen in order to destroy evidence.
Oh, wow.
All of those things are there. And the note has blood on it, by the way, Samantha's blood. And so there are other pieces. There's so much more. But the DNA evidence, the DNA evidence was extremely strong. And he's the person who committed this crime. And yes, you have a right not to testify. You have a right not to incriminate yourself. Right,
because he did not testify.
He did not. But you also have the ability to speak and to testify if you choose to.
Yeah. Mitchell, thank you so much for your question. We're talking to Attorney Byron Gipson. It's No Justice, Joe Peace. We are talking about the case of Nathaniel Rowland and also USC student Samantha Josephson. It actually happened in 2019, and the case was just tried a couple of weeks ago. You talked a little bit about his clothing, and to Mitchell's point, there was some question about from his attorneys about, well, they could tell that maybe Samantha was involved in some kind of struggle, but there was none of his DNA on her, nor did he look like he had been in a fight or altercation or something like that.
Right. And I'll say to this, the simple explanation is this. You don't just pick one piece of evidence and hold that out. Look at what he was wearing when he went to the ATM machine. All right. He had on at least 3 layers of clothes. Wow. So he had on, we know there were more than that actually, but there was a shirt. There was a long tan shirt that he had on that, incidentally, if you look at those things, you can see there's blood on the tan shirt beneath the jacket, the leather jacket that he was wearing as well. He had on a hoodie that had white drawstrings. He had on a bandana and again, a hoodie and a leather jacket.
In July.
And so, Trey, if I won't even go down that route. I'll just say I'm not going to play the if game. You can see there was testimony, from one of the experts. You can see what they call striations in the leather, which are scratch marks, on the left side. On the right side of that jacket. And so, if they talked about her nails and all that with their DNA, you're not going to leave DNA on a person who's layered in 4 or 5 layers of clothes and has on a leather jacket. You're not scratching through a leather jacket. Right. And he had on gloves. And those gloves you can see him with as he's trying to punch codes into the ATM machine. And those gloves are also found in the trash. One of them still in the car. And you know what's on those gloves? Bleach. So, again, I hear that, but again, I'm when we talk about beyond a reasonable doubt, and Judge Newman was very clear what that definition is. You have to be firmly convinced of a defendant's guilt, or it's the amount of guilt that causes a person to hesitate to act. And so, as we look at those things and we look at all of the evidence that was there, was the DNA question? It's not there to me because of what he was wearing. Again, this bandana that we talked about, it's a bandana that had different types of increments of money on it. I almost said Steve Benjamin. That's our mayor. He's not on the money yet. Benjamin Franklin. It's all about the Benjamins, right? But
it's all about the Benjamins.
But this bandana had, just different increments of money on it. And you can see that bandana in the video when he's actually trying to get money. And you also see that bandana, in evidence because it had Samantha's blood on it. And that bandana was one that one of the young ladies that we talked about who he dated at some time had seen him wearing multiple times. Yeah. So again, you're not going to leave DNA. She's not leaving DNA on him if he's covered from head to toe. It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
You shouldn't expect that. So that again is one of those pieces I say. It's DNA is one piece of evidence, but I tell you what, you find her DNA all in his car. Because she essentially was killed in the car and essentially bled out in that car. Her DNA is in that car. Her DNA is on his clothes. Her DNA is on that weapon. Her DNA is everywhere, and her DNA is on him.
Yeah.
So again, I say, I'm passionate about that because this is just a crime. Not saying that any crime should happen, but this just never should have happened. It was so senseless and pointless. And 2 families are irreparably changed. And many more lives, but 2 families are irreparably changed because of his actions, because of what he chose to do. And the jury's spoken. He's been found guilty, which is what should have happened in this case.
Right. Keith Ivey says he loves this. He says truth and facts. Thank you, Keith, so much for joining us. Please post and share this information out. We're talking to Attorney Byron Gipson. It's our monthly series, No Justice, KNOW Justice, KNOW Peace with the 5th Circuit Solicitors Office. We're going to take a quick break, Byron, and come back and talk a little bit about some events you've got coming up. Before we go, I just want to ask a couple of more questions about the typical time it takes to go from crime to trial, because this crime happened July of 2019. Did COVID affect this, or was this about the normal time it takes to go to trial?
Right. It was actually in October 2019.
Okay.
But yeah, generally what you're talking about when you have a case of that has this much evidence, you have different agencies here that were a part of it. So you had the South Carolina Law Enforcement Division, Columbia Police Department, the Sheriff's Department, always has a place, anytime that there's something in Columbia, because obviously Columbia is in Richland County. You also had Department of Natural Resources and Clarendon County, which is where her body was found. And so when you have that many agencies, especially when you're talking about murder cases or cases, if it's a rape case, although there's no any aspect of sex in this case. So I don't want anybody to get that twisted. That was not an issue here. But when you have murder, when you have rape, when you have, cases that are involving different agencies testing either firearms, blood, serology, things of that nature, they take a little longer. I'd say the average on a murder case, it's going to be at least a year. So COVID did play a part in this case, but it plays a part in every case. It absolutely plays a part in every case that's tried in terms of just the more complicated cases take a little bit longer to get to trial. Even if you're talking about a drug case where you have a drug analysis that may seem relatively simple, that can oftentimes take a minimum of 8 months before we receive all of the evidence, and we share that evidence that we receive, because we have to do that, share that with the defense. The defense has a chance to take a look at it, wait on that drug analysis to come back. Once you've done all of those things, you can easily be talking about, even in a simple case, maybe it could be a simple possession of marijuana or cocaine. If they're testing those drugs, SLED often has to do the testing. South Carolina Law Enforcement Division does the testing. That can take a bit of time. And so that even in the simpler cases can often take you 8 to 9 months before you even have those tests back. Then you have to get in line with the trials that are ahead of you. And judges set the docket in terms of which trials are going to be held when. I mean, we all play a part in setting that docket, but at this point, either judge, solicitor, defense attorneys speak on when those cases can be tried, when witnesses can be available. So this, based on COVID and all the other factors, I think was about as efficient as we could get in terms of trying this case.
This is Attorney Byron Gipson. He is with the Fifth Circuit Solicitors Office. He is the solicitor with the Fifth Circuit Solicitors Office, and this is our monthly series, No Justice, No Peace. When we come back, Byron's going to rejoin us and talk about how this case actually changed the way ride-sharing services operate, and 2 events that the Solicitor's Office has coming up that can help you or someone you know. That's coming up next on Coping with COVID. I'm Tre Tailor.
Computers, they're a part of our everyday life, but when they're not working, they're an everyday problem. So call Computers Unique, your everyday solution. 803-351-5821. Is your computer running slow? Won't turn on? Do you need a screen replaced? Or maybe you just need another computer? Well, Computers Unique is your one-stop shop for all your computer needs. They have a wide variety of new and pre-owned PCs, Macs, and tablets. So call Computers Unique, Dutch Square Mall. 803-351-5821. 803-351-5821.
Let Palmetto Painting Services take the worry out of your next home painting project. We can paint anything. Our business is about interior painting and exterior painting. We offer services for residential and commercial properties. Restore the life to your home with a fresh coat of paint from Palmetto Painting Services. References are available upon request. Give us a call at 803-546-4570 today.
The Comet gives me a reliable source of transportation.
It's very convenient to me, and they have wonderful drivers.
It's clean, and it builds community. It's fun to meet people.
It makes me feel like really independent. It's just fun.
It's always going to be there, and it gets me everywhere I need to go.
We try to ride every single day. Comet is our livelihood.
Need health insurance? Call Javis at 803-419-1001. Javis can get you health insurance premiums as low as $0, plus other low-cost and affordable options. 803-419-1001. Let Javis help you file your taxes, and if you need it, get a cash advance from $500 to $6,000. Javis Tax Services, 803-419-1001. Javis Tax Service. JavisTax.com.
Thank you so much for joining us for Coping with COVID, updates on the pandemic and information to help you thrive and survive COVID-19. I'm Tre Tailor. Hey, we are streaming live on the Tailor Made production page. Would you go over there and hit like and share and follow us so that you can receive the notifications when we go live? It's Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And then on First Monday with George Wallace. We're also streaming live on YouTube. Thank you so much. Please don't forget to hit the subscribe button. And we're also streaming live on the Fifth Circuit Solicitors page on Facebook. Don't forget to like that page and follow so you can find out what's going on in that office. Also, don't forget to post your questions and share this information out. We're talking to Attorney Byron Gipson with the Fifth Circuit Solicitors Office. He joins us for the monthly series, No Justice, No Peace. Thank you again, Byron, for agreeing to come on. And I really do appreciate you coming on the air, publicly addressing the citizens with their questions, their comments, and information. And I know you're doing this in an effort to be transparent and informative because there's so many questions, so much going on in our community. If you just joined us, hit the rewind button to find out the details about some highly publicized trials in the area, including the one that actually helped to strengthen the laws for Uber drivers. And, you hate to say that something good came out of this, but it certainly did increase the awareness about how to make rideshare services safer.
It did, and that's the blessing. I mean, you always ask that there will be a silver lining in something, and this has been one of the silver linings. We had an opportunity to spend a good bit of time with the family. Deputy Solicitor Dan Goldberg spent a good bit of time with the family, speaking to them multiple times a month. We met with them when they had questions about evidence or just questions generally about what the trial strategy would be. But one of the things that the Josephson family has been really aggressive about is, as you mentioned, just trying to work on changing the laws as it relates to Uber, rideshare, Lyft, just whatever the rideshare company may be called. And some of you may have noticed who've used them before that sometimes there'll be a placard in the front of the car that says, the name of the respective rideshare company. Sometimes there's one on the back. Sometimes there's not one at all. Sometimes it's just, it depends on, who you get.
Right.
But changing the law is really making it clear that you have to have, some type of placard on the front and the back of the car so you can be recognized as one of the approved drivers. Also something that they've done, and it's been really big here, in Columbia with the University of South Carolina, obviously, which is where Samantha was a student, is, his name is Seymour, but Mr. Josephson, Seymour has talked a good bit about rideshare and rideshare safety. And this is just a bracelet that I've been wearing, but I think it'll come across, but it says Sammy Strong. Well, this part says, "What's my name?"
Yeah.
And it's a reminder when you're getting in a ride share to make sure that they say your name so they'll know. First of all, if you've never done a ride share before, it's an app. It's basically a phone app or a computer app.
Yeah.
Once you say that, hey, I'm at the courthouse, I want to ride to I want to go to, we'll say 5 Points. You tell them where you want to go, and then you'll see on that app multiple vehicles that are around the area that are rideshare vehicles. One of the people in that, one of the rideshare persons will claim the ride. And at that point, there should be information that's shared with you as to who the driver is, what type of vehicle that driver is driving, and then your information that you would have had to enter in order to, actually access that app will come up as well. And it'll have your name and where you're located and where you'd like to go. You make the payment online, so it's done. You don't actually exchange cash. That payment's made on, just electronically. But what it's suggesting was what this suggests you should do is, number one, make sure that person says your name before you get in the car.
Because they should know your name from the transaction. Yes.
That's exactly right. They should know your name. They should have a picture of you. This is the person that I'm picking up, and vice versa. You should have a picture of them, and you should know their name as well. And you should know the make and model of their car and their license tag. And so checking those things is kind of that first safety measure that should be in place. You should check those things before you ever set foot in that car. And so, this is just an initiative that they have. Again, what's my name, hashtag, and then Sammy Strong on the back.
That's good.
And it speaks about just about what should, just what you should do in those situations. So that's number one. And they also have these door knockers that they're actually including in a lot of freshmen. Excuse me one moment. They're including in a lot of. Hey, I thought.
Hello, I am Miss Listener.
See my undivided attention. That's what I'm giving.
Thank you.
Absolutely. But it also gives you these placards that you place on the door that just reminds each person, this is what you need to do anytime you're in a rideshare situation. Right. He comes down and speaks to students from time to time about those.
That's
matters.
Great.
So he is dedicating, he's dedicated to this to make sure that Sammy, that you can know that, her life, means so much.
Means something. Yeah.
That's right. Her life means something. And
we see over and over again how tragedy can bring advocacy and change. I mean, you know, this is a little off the topic, but I mean, look at that flag or don't look at the flag. You can't see the flag anymore, you know. So there are so many times that things happen, that tragedies happen, just terrible, heart-wrenching, senseless tragedies happen. But
and that's where the silver lining has to come in. I mean, there's I just having been with the family and seeing them, and just you had probably 30 or so family members and friends that came down for the trial who were here every day to support them, to support us with their prayers and whatnot. But just to see how this, you know, senseless death affected each one of them. They all had a Sammyism, as they call it, just a story about how quirky she was. They said they used the word goofy, how she could be. They just the chance for them to kind of be here and have that catharsis once the verdict was read. But knowing that every day is still going to be, you know, a struggle. Every day is going to be a struggle because, you know, their loved one, their daughter, their friend, their sister, their niece is no longer with us based on a senseless act of violence. And we've got to, you know, our office is here, you know, to do justice. I mean, that's our job, is to do justice no matter what. And in this case, I'm confident that happened. But we're in prayer, you know, with that family every day, with the Josephsons and their friends and family, you know, that they can be stronger every day and just continue to you know, to light a positive candle and just have just wonderful memories of Sammy and do some wonderful things on her behalf.
Yeah. We're looking at the website, the Fifth Circuit Solicitors website. If you want more information, you can definitely go to the website to find out how the Solicitor's Office can help you. And there is actually two events that are coming up, Byron, in an effort to help some folks. The first one is the No Judge, No Jail event that is going to happen 4 times over the next month. Tell us a little bit about this.
Right. This is an important initiative. You and I talked about this before. As solicitor, we have the ability to affect policy, to affect how things take place. One thing that I've noticed, and we've all seen, is especially as they've been highlighted over the last year and a half or so, is just police contacts and how so many negative things happen anytime they're, I won't say anytime, but often when there are police contacts. And if a person attempts to evade police for whatever reason, there have been so many negative things that have happened. There have been deaths that have happened. People have been severely injured. Sometimes if a person is fleeing, an innocent bystander is injured or killed. That's another, I can tell you another story another day about a friend of mine who died as a result of something like that years ago. Somebody who was kind of a mentor to me when I was in college.
Oh my God.
But we can talk about that another time. I know your time is short, but here, what this is a bench warrant resolution court that I've created for the Fifth Circuit. It had operated every now and then, every so often, every blue moon under something called amnesty courts. But here, this is not an amnesty court. What it is it's an opportunity if you have a nonviolent bench warrant, meaning you missed court for some reason. So for instance, if you had a general sessions charge, a charge that's a felony here at the main courthouse here in Columbia, 1701 Main Street, you missed court. You forgot about a court date. You didn't show up. Maybe you moved. Maybe you decided you don't want to go back anymore, whatever, or you just thought it ended. Sometimes a bench warrant is issued for your arrest. Oftentimes they're issued for your arrest, which means that you can be arrested if you were stopped by the police. They enter your name, they check your license. You may have a warrant for your arrest. Right. So at that point in time, you can be picked up, placed in jail, sometimes until your trial date.
Wow.
And so what we're going to do here is we are asking folks who have bench warrants to come in to over at Trinity Baptist Church. We're having 4 dates. We're doing this initially. There are going to be more, but August 31st, September 1st, September 7th, September 8th over at Trinity Baptist Church off of Richland Street. And what we're going to be doing there is you'll have an opportunity to be there. There will be public defenders. So there will be lawyers there who will be able to double check and see if you have a bench warrant. If you have that bench warrant, then they will give you a new court date. We will give you a new court date, give you paperwork as to when that court date is. And then within 24 hours, we will vacate that bench warrant, meaning we will get rid of the bench warrant. The judge will sign off and get rid of the bench warrant, so it will no longer be pending. You will still have a court date. So let's be clear. You'll still have a court date. You'll still need to resolve that matter. But that bench warrant that's staying out there, where you can be arrested if you were stopped, by police, that goes away. And you're now, it will be your responsibility to follow up on every court date that you have after that to resolve the matter. But again, this is an opportunity to at least get rid of these things, this encumbrance, this piece there that may sometimes, have a person thinking, all right, if something happens and I get stopped, by the police, that, some folks say, hey, man, I think I may need to evade them. There may be a warrant out for my arrest or something like that. We're trying to get rid of those scenarios. Also, something that's extremely important. This office, the solicitor's office, does not have any jurisdiction over family court bench warrants. So child support warrants, let's just call it what it is. We don't have jurisdiction over that. But I've been able to meet with family court judges and put together a process so that we can have that same type of control for this matter as well. So if you have a child support warrant that's out there, you can come to Trinity Baptist Church on that day. And there will be some lawyers there as well. You'll have an opportunity to talk about what that payment can be so that you can get whatever the bench warrant is lifted. If you pay a certain amount of money, you can talk about what you're able to pay, and there'll be a negotiation of sorts that takes place. If you agree, and then you guys come up with an agreement that this is the amount that we're going to be able to pay to get the bench warrant rescinded, then you'll be given a date within 30 days that it has to be paid. We're not accepting money, so do not bring money to me or us. We're not accepting any money. That money goes to wherever you would pay your child support, whether it's at the family court or the different businesses here in town. I've learned that you can go to CVS and there's a way that you can pay on an account to pay child support at one of those places. But you pay that amount, and the judge will, and you show up on that court date, the judge will rescind the bench warrant, meaning vacate, get rid of that bench warrant. And so, again, we're looking at ways that we can stop some of the encumbrances, because let's be real. I mean, I was in private practice for a long time. I know that people hide from police. I know that, folks have child support warrants that are out there, and they'll go hang out at this person's house, or their grandmother's house, or somebody else's house, and police come knocking at 6 a.m, to come arrest you. We're trying to get rid of that. And if we can do this by, giving you an opportunity to get yourself turned in, get these fines paid up, that you owe, then we can reduce some of the police contacts that are out there. Folks can get back to work. The benefit of the child support piece too is mom or whomever you owe that money to is now getting the child support to support the child that needs to happen anyway.
Right.
But you now have that taken care of. You can go back to work and stop looking over your shoulder, wondering if you're going to get your door knocked on, thinking that you may go to jail.
Well, I think you just answered that question, but Alex Wright wants to know, he says, so this isn't a setup. Thanks, Alex.
No, this is not a bait and switch. This is not one of those situations that years ago, some people got something in the mail that said, hey, you come over here, we got a large screen TV for you, you show up, we're going to give you it is not that. I'm not putting my name on that. I'm not here to trick people. I don't play games with people's lives. We're not doing that. The bottom line is there will be no judge there. And we are not here, to try to arrest people. We're here to try to give people an opportunity to get these matters behind them so that they can get back to the business of living their lives and having their lives more abundantly. That's what we all want when it's all said and done. And I'll say this, there will be public defenders there who can advise you of the law. If it's a criminal matter, my office does not need to be giving you advice about what to do in a criminal matter, because my job as the prosecutor is to prosecute. But it's also to do justice. I mean, they're concurrent roles. But if there's a question that you have about a case or how that works, you got to speak to your personal lawyer about that. It's unethical for me or someone from my office to do that. So you'll have members of the Richland County Public Defender's Office there. We expect that there will be some lawyers I've already received calls from a few who are willing to volunteer their time, who can be there as it relates to the child support side of this thing. We're not there to talk about why you're on child support. Nobody's giving paternity tests, any of that kind of stuff. If there is a bench warrant for your arrest, that information will be available, and the negotiation can begin. Once there's an agreement that's made, they'll be given a court date within 30 days to make sure that the payment that they've agreed on takes place. And then the entire, child support, from that point in time, that warrant is vacated and they're back on the previous plan. If I can also say, this is something I'm hoping that we can make this happen as well. We're in talks right now. We've also talked with DHEC, and we're trying to have an opportunity for people to be vaccinated if they'd like to. So we're working on that as well. I hope to know that. So just stay tuned on our website, and just as we start to talk about this a little bit more over the next week and a half or so, if we can make that happen as well, we'd like to have the opportunity for anyone who wants a vaccination to be able to get that while they are at this event.
Great,
so family, friends, anybody who you know who's got questions, as it relates to the family court matters, you can call the family court. They'll answer questions about what happens and what can happen and the information that you're going to need. And as it relates to the nonviolent bench warrants that our office actually has, you can call our office at 576-1800, 576-1800.
I think we've got, we can put that number up if people want more information. And once again, this No Judge, No Jail event is happening on these dates. You can see the information on the screen. And again, Byron, just say quickly, because I know we've got only a couple of minutes left. Say again who this event is for, who should come.
It's for nonviolent bench warrants, meaning you've missed a court date. Or if you have back child support that's owed and a bench warrant has been issued for your arrest. Those are the two that we're really focusing on in this first set of two that we're going to do. What's ultimately going to happen is quarterly, we're going to have this event. And we'd like to, number one, reduce the number of bench warrants. As of last Tuesday afternoon, there were 1,266 child support bench warrants that were out there, which means that's 1,266 people that could be arrested at any point in time for non-payment of child support or being behind on their child support. And so that's what we're aiming at over that set of 4 days that we're doing it to try to reduce those numbers. And that being said, people may ask, all right, well, why are you doing this again? Let's think about the Walter Scott situation down in Charleston, North Charleston, where Slager murdered him, shot him in the back and murdered him. Again, that's somebody who's in jail, who needs to be in jail. The officer who did that. When Mr. Scott was stopped, he evaded police or tried to run because he thought there was a bench warrant for his arrest for child support.
Yeah.
So the impetus, the background here is if we can provide a softer landing, a place where people can go to get these things worked out ahead of time, maybe we can avoid situations where that stop ever has to happen. Or if it happens, that stop is made knowing that, hey, it was just a traffic violation. I ran a red light. I didn't have my blinker on, whatever that is. But we can eliminate some of those things that are causing people to make decisions that sometimes have become life altering. Right.
Alex says a smart initiative. We need just more than 1 day. Yeah. So it's 4 days, Alex. Go ahead, Byron.
It's going to be, and thank you for that, Mr. Wright. Alex, thank you for that. It's going to be more than that, sir. You got to start somewhere. And so what we're going to do is August 31st, September 1st are going to be the first two. The following week, September 7th and September 8th will be the second two. And then we're going to regroup. We're going to be doing collecting data as it relates to this as well. We'll have surveys that will be filled out, questionnaires for people who are coming through, so we can see if make sure that we're not missing the mark, quite frankly. And if we need more days, which I'm sure we will, we're going to do this quarterly, but we've got to get the resources together. Quite frankly, we've got to pay for it. So we're working on grants that can let this thing be something that we do all of the time. And under my watch, we're going to continue to do this. But we just want to make sure that it meets and helps as many people as possible. So, and ultimately, I believe we'll expand it to some other types of warrants. But right now, we want to focus on the fact we know that we have a certain amount of bench warrants in my office that we can work through. The public defenders have a certain amount with our office that we know that we can work through. So we're working hard to notify those people up front. Again, this was asked, this is not a trick. It's not, as some people call it, a bait and switch.
Right.
And we know that we can work on these child support warrants as well. So I'll tell folks, this is going to be the first go around. I'm not sure what kind of numbers we're going to look at, but we're doing it multiple days purposely so that we can get as many and help as many people as we can on the front end. But this is just one of those initiatives that needs to happen. And my office and we're all devoted to making this happen and making this be a success. So bear with us. If it means you got to wait for a little while, it is what it is. We're going to provide a service, and we're not here to try to trick you. We're not trying to bait and switch you. We're not trying to have a gotcha moment. We want to help this situation. We want to make things better. And this is an opportunity for this office to help people make things better.
Yeah. Before you go, Byron, I know you've got to get back to serving the public, and I got to get in that car line. So listen, I know you're going to have another event in September. Another town hall had one a couple of months ago that was very successful. Tell us about that one in September.
The one in September is, this is, again, under the No Justice, No Peace, the Point initiative, as we spoke about before. This one is actually going to be over in the Lower Richland community. So at the Garners Ferry Adult Recreation Center. So that's in Richland County. It's on the Garners Ferry end on the east side. And what we'll be doing is partnering again with some of the local legislators, Jerome Johnson, excuse me, I said Jerome, I apologize, Jermaine Johnson.
Jermaine.
Yep. Good man of Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated, also a graduate of the Lambda Psi chapter, might I say. Also graduate.
I'm me by me, so I.
No, there's love all the way around. We love, you know, whether you are a member of one of the divine nine, we all love one another. It is what it is. It's all about love. But he's a strong member of Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated, but he is going to be a part of this matter. We're talking about guns, gun violence. We're talking about initiatives there. We're going to talk a little bit about the open carry piece. So again, like we had before, we'll have legislators that are there to talk about the policy behind it, talk about what some of the issues are and how we can get to the bottom of trying to change things positively, trying to find ways through legislation to change it, and to also learn about what the community is saying, what they need, and to advise the community about what needs to happen and hear what they're saying so that ultimately we can have safer communities for our children.
Wow. Okay. So this is September 14th in the Lower Richland community. Of course, we will.
14th.
14th?
14th, yes. Yes, we'll get that information out to you. We just locked that date in, as a matter of fact, yesterday. And so we'll make sure to get that information out to you. And it will be live streamed, as you're aware, like we did before. The venue will probably hold safely, as we're working on that right now. No more than 100 people socially distanced. We can do that, we're quite sure of. So we'll put all of those matters together, and we will make sure that you're informed, the general public's informed, and as we get closer, we'll talk a little bit more about what's on the agenda for what we'll be speaking about, and just kind of the structure that we'll be operating under this time around. Probably we'll also have ATF, so the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, as we talk about some of the issues with guns, local law enforcement as well. So it's going to be another major event to inform the community, teach the community, and help them understand what we're doing, why we do it, how we can be of service, and how we should have a symbiotic relationship and not an adversarial relationship.
Awesome. Awesome. It's Byron Gipson. It's our monthly series with the Fifth Circuit Solicitors Office. It's called No Justice, KNOW Justice, KNO Peace. And we thank him so much for coming on and sharing all of this great information. If you want more information, you can contact Byron. His information is up on the screen. We're looking at the website right there, and please contact him for all of your needs. And again, we will continue to post and share this information out. You can visit them not only on the website, but on the Facebook page also. Byron, again, thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you so much for all that you're doing to really affect some change and help the folks in our community. I appreciate you. And again, thank you so much for coming on every month.
Thank you for the opportunity. And I mean, we're endeavoring to do better every day. And so we just got to make a positive difference in people's lives. And that's what we're going to do.
Absolutely. And we appreciate you doing that. Attorney Byron Gipson with the Fifth Circuit Solicitor's Office. Thank you again. Have a great afternoon, Byron.
Thank you. You take care.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. All right. So listen, if you have a story or initiative that can help someone cope with COVID, please go to the Tailor Made Production page on our Facebook and inbox us. We would love for you to be featured. If you have a product or service that can help someone cope with COVID, please email copingwithtreTailor@gmail.com. That information is scrolling at the bottom of the screen. And we'd love for you to be a proud sponsor, just like the Fifth Circuit Solicitor's Office. Also, the City of Columbia Office of Business Opportunities, Palmetto Painting Services, Computers Unique, Dutch Square Mall, Agape Counseling and Training Center. Also, the Comet Bus System, Javis Tax Service, and In It Together SC, and the Diabetes Advisory Council of South Carolina. Speaking of them, they sponsor Wellness Wednesday every Wednesday here on Coping with COVID. And I'm so excited about our show next Wednesday, National Wellness and Happiness Happens month. We're going to be joined by best-selling author and thought leader Marianne Williamson. That's right, Marianne Williamson is going to join us next Wednesday right here on Wellness Wednesday to discuss achieving mindfulness and lasting happiness. Just what we need to hear in these tumultuous times. That's next Wednesday, 2:00, right here on Coping with COVID with Marianne Williamson. And then next Friday, we're going to talk to 3 people who launched a business during COVID. And Frank Knapp with the Small Business Chamber of Commerce will join us to provide information on how you can start your own business. That's coming up next Friday on Coping with COVID. As always, I leave you with a reading from Jesus Calling. And today, August 19, Jesus says, I continually call you to closeness with me. I know the depth and breadth of your need for me. I can read the emptiness of your thoughts when they wander away from me. I offer rest for your soul as well as refreshment for your mind and body. As you increasingly find fulfillment in me, Jesus says, other pleasures become less important. Knowing me intimately is like having a private wellspring of joy within you. The spring flows freely from my throne of grace, so your joy is not dependent on circumstances. Waiting in my presence helps keep you connected to me, aware of all that I offer you. If you feel any deficiency, you need to refocus your attention on me, Jesus says. This is how you trust me in the moments of your life. That's your Jesus Calling for today, Thursday, August 19th. I'm Tre Tailor. Thank you so much for joining us. Until the next time, I wish you peace, abundant blessings. Take care, stay well, be blessed. Get your vaccine and wear your mask over your nose and under your chin. I'll talk to you later.
Coping with COVID. Updates on the pandemic and information to help you thrive and survive COVID-19. It's brought to you by the South Carolina Department of Health and Environmental Control. Visit scdheck.gov for an updated list of testing sites and important information on how to protect yourself, your family, and friends from the coronavirus. SCDHEC. Healthy people, healthy communities. In it together and the South Carolina Diabetes Advisory Council, presenting Wellness Wednesday every Wednesday on Coping with COVID. The City of Columbia Office of Business Opportunities, helping to meet the needs of small, minority, and women-owned businesses in the City of Columbia. Log on to columbiasc.net/OBO. Agape Counseling and Training Services. Call 803-779-2777 for licensed professionals of counselors and social workers helping families, engaged and married couples, and individuals of all ages gain an understanding of all aspects of their lives. If you're having a challenge coping with COVID, contact Agape Counseling and Training Services at agapects.com. And Palmetto Media Connections, connecting media and communities together. Coping with COVID, brought to you by SCDHEC. In it together, the Diabetes Advisory Council, the City of Columbia Office of Business Opportunities, Agape Counseling and Training Center, and Palmetto Media Connections.
Coping with COVID with Tre Tailor.